The conference room on Axiom Station was cold. Ambassador Hee-jin sat at the long metal table, her hands folded neatly in front of her. She wore a simple gray suit, no jewelry, no decorations. Across from her sat Warlord Krethix, a massive creature covered in dark scales. His eyes glowed red in the dim light. 3 years of war had brought them here. Humans against the Velcrin Dominion, thousands dead on both sides. Planets burned, ships destroyed. And now, finally, they were talking instead of fighting. Hee-jin had been talking for 6 days straight. Small progress each day. The Velcrin wanted territory. Humans wanted safety. Somewhere in the middle there had to be peace. Behind Hee-jin stood Tai-min. He never sat during meetings. He stood in the corner, perfectly still, watching everything. Most people forgot he was there after a few minutes. He was listed as an attaché on official documents, someone who carried papers and took notes. Nothing important. The morning session had gone well. Both sides agreed on mining rights in the neutral zone. It was a small victory, but victory nonetheless. Hee-jin allowed herself a tiny smile. "We are making progress," she said. Her voice was calm and steady. "Perhaps we can discuss the border stations next." Krethix made a sound like grinding stones. His version of laughter. "You humans talk too much. Words, words, words. No wonder you lost the Battle of Rigel." Hee-jin's expression did not change. "We lost that battle, yes. But we won the war. That is why you are here, Warlord. That is why your Dominion asked for these negotiations." The temperature in the room seemed to rise. Krethix stood up suddenly. His chair crashed backward. He was huge, nearly 3 meters tall. His clawed hands gripped the edge of the table. "We asked for nothing. The Galactic Council forced this meeting." "The Council suggested it," Hee-jin replied calmly. She did not stand. She did not raise her voice. "You accepted. You are here. Let us continue working toward peace." Other aliens watched nervously from their seats. Counselor Jae-sung, the human representative to the Galactic Council, shifted uncomfortably. The young diplomat Da-un held her breath. Krethix walked around the table. Heavy footsteps echoed in the silent room. He stopped next to Hee-jin's chair. She remained seated, looking straight ahead. "You speak of peace," Krethix growled. "But I see weakness. Your species is soft. You send talkers instead of warriors. You negotiate instead of conquer. This is why the Velcrin are superior." "Strength comes in many forms, Warlord," Hee-jin said quietly. "Does it?" Krethix leaned down, his face close to hers. His breath smelled like sulfur. "Then show me your strength, human." "I am showing you," Hee-jin replied. "Every day I sit here, I show you strength. The strength to listen. The strength to compromise. The strength to build peace instead of death." Krethix made that grinding sound again. Then his hand moved, fast. A backhand strike across Hee-jin's face. The crack echoed through the room like a gunshot. Hee-jin fell from her chair. She hit the floor hard. Blood trickled from her split lip. The room erupted in shocked voices. Aliens stood up. Some shouted. Counselor Jae-sung rushed forward. Krethix stood over her, his hand still raised. "That is strength, human. Physical power. Dominance. Your words mean nothing compared to this." The room suddenly went quiet. Not because the aliens stopped talking. They continued their shocked protests. But something had changed. The air felt different, heavy, dangerous. Hee-jin touched her lip. Her fingers came away red. She looked at the blood for a moment, then slowly stood up. No one helped her. They were all staring at something else. Tai-min had moved. For 6 days he had stood perfectly still in the corner, barely breathing, invisible. Now he stood 5 steps from Krethix. His eyes locked on the warlord. His expression was completely blank, but his body was coiled tight. "Ready?" "It was a cultural misunderstanding," Krethix said quickly. Too quickly. Some instinct made him nervous, though he did not understand why. Among Velcrin, such gestures are common. Not meant to cause true harm. Hee-jin straightened her jacket. She wiped the blood from her lip with a tissue from her pocket. When she spoke, her voice was still calm, still steady. "We will resume negotiations in 1 hour." She walked toward the door. Tai-min did not follow immediately. He continued staring at Krethix. The warlord tried to meet his gaze, tried to show dominance, but something in those human eyes made him look away first. Only then did Tai-min turn and follow Hee-jin out of the room. The moment the door closed, chaos erupted. The alien delegates all spoke at once. Counselor Jae-sung's face had gone white. He grabbed his communication device and started making urgent calls. Da-Yun ran after the human delegation. She found them in a private corridor. Hee-Jin was leaning against the wall, holding a clean cloth to her lip. Taemin stood nearby, still silent. "Ambassador, are you all right?" Da-Yun asked. "I am fine," Hee-Jin said, but her hand was shaking slightly. "A small cut. Nothing serious. He struck you. In front of the entire council. This is an act of war." "No," Hee-Jin said firmly. "It is an act of stupidity. There is a difference." Counselor Jae-sung arrived, breathing hard from running. His eyes went immediately to Taemin, then back to Hee-Jin. "Ambassador, I need to speak with you. Privately. Right now." Hee-Jin nodded. They moved to a secure room. The door locked behind them. Da-Yun tried to follow, but was stopped by security. She stood in the corridor, confused and worried. Inside the secure room, Jae-sung paced back and forth. "Do you understand what just happened?" "I was struck," Hee-Jin said. "I understand perfectly. No, you do not." Jae-sung stopped pacing. He looked at Taemin. "Tell her." Taemin spoke for the first time in 6 days. His voice was soft, almost gentle. "The protocol has been invoked, Ambassador." Hee-Jin's eyes widened. "No, I did not give that order." "You did not need to," Taemin replied. "The protocol invokes automatically when blood is drawn from a diplomat through violence. You bled. The decision is no longer yours to make." "What protocol?" Hee-Jin demanded. "What are you talking about?" Jae-sung sat down heavily. "I thought you knew. I thought all senior diplomats were briefed." "Briefed about what?" "About who Taemin really is," Jae-sung said quietly. "About what happens when someone harms a human diplomat." Taemin stood perfectly still again. Waiting. Watching. But something had changed in his eyes. They were focused now, sharp, like a predator that had just spotted prey. Hee-Jin looked between them, confusion turning to understanding, understanding turning to horror. "What have you done?" she whispered. "My job?" Taemin replied simply. "I protect you, Ambassador. Always. And when you are harmed, I make certain it never happens again." Jae-sung's communication device buzzed urgently. He looked at the screen and his face went even paler. "The Velkrin have locked down their entire sector. 50 guards around Krethix. They have sealed the warlord inside his quarters with military-grade blast doors." Taemin showed no reaction to this news. No surprise. No concern. "It will not matter," he said calmly. "The warlord dies tonight. One way or another." Hee-Jin stared at Taemin. 8 years. She had worked with him for 8 years. He carried her documents. He arranged her meetings. He stood quietly in corners during negotiations. And she had never asked who he really was. "Explain," she said. "Now." Jae-sung rubbed his face tiredly. "Every human diplomat assigned to dangerous negotiations travels with a ghost operator. That is what Taemin is. Not an attaché. A weapon." "A weapon?" Hee-Jin felt cold despite the warm room. "The finest killer humanity has ever produced," Jae-sung continued. "Trained from childhood. Enhanced with technology we do not talk about. Bound by a single protocol that overrides everything else." Taemin remained silent, his expression blank. "What protocol?" Hee-Jin asked, though part of her already knew the answer. "If blood is drawn from the diplomat through violence, the aggressor dies," Jae-sung said. "If the diplomat dies, everyone in the vicinity dies. Every person who could have prevented it. Every person who allowed it to happen." Hee-Jin sat down slowly. Her legs felt weak. "How many? How many ghost operators are there?" "No one knows the exact number," Jae-sung replied. "The program is classified at the highest levels. Some estimates say 50, others say 500. What we do know is this. No ghost has ever failed a mission, not one. Not in 40 years. The room was quiet except for the hum of air circulation. Hee-Jin looked at Taemin with new eyes. How many times had she turned her back to him? How many times had she been completely vulnerable in his presence? And he had protected her all along and she never knew. "I do not want this," she said finally. "I do not want Krethix dead. That will destroy the peace process." "The peace process is already destroyed," Jae-sung said. "The moment he struck you, it ended. Now we must manage the aftermath." "No." Hee-Jin stood up. "I can fix this. I can salvage the negotiations. But only if Krethix lives." "Ambassador," Taemin spoke again. His voice was gentle, almost apologetic. "I understand your wish. But the protocol exists for a reason. If we allow violence against our diplomats to go unpunished, every negotiation becomes dangerous. Every meeting becomes a potential attack. The protocol protects all human diplomats, not just you. Then I order you to stand down, Heejin said firmly. You cannot, Taemin replied. Once invoked, the protocol cannot be stopped by the diplomat it protects. This prevents enemies from forcing a cancellation through threats or coercion. Only the ghost operator can choose to abort. And I will not. Heejin felt anger rising in her chest. This is insane. You are telling me I have no choice? That a man will die because of a rule I did not even know existed? Yes, Taemin said simply. Why? Hyojin demanded. Why create such a protocol? Why make it automatic? Jae-sung answered instead. Because it works, Ambassador. Since the Ghost Protocol was established, exactly 3 people have harmed human diplomats. All 3 died within 24 hours. After the 3rd death, the attack stopped completely. Until today. What happened to those 3? Yijin asked. 20 years ago, Jae-sung said quietly, a Catherine warlord killed Ambassador Minho during trade negotiations on a remote station. The warlord, his command staff, and 47 guards all died within 6 hours. No alarms triggered. No security footage showed anything unusual. The official report called it simultaneous system failures. 15 years ago, he continued, a Sindori politician poisoned Ambassador Bo-Ra at a state dinner. The politician died in his sleep that night. Natural causes, according to medical examiners, but we know better. And 10 years ago, a pirate captain shot Ambassador Kiwon during a hostage situation. The captain and his entire crew of 32 died before their ship even left the station. Explosive decompression in their vessel. Accident, the investigation concluded. Heejin looked at Taemin with horror. How many people have you killed? I am not permitted to answer that question, Taemin replied. Have you killed before? A pause, then. Yes. How do you live with it? Taemin's expression flickered for just a moment. Something human showed through the blank mask. With difficulty, Ambassador. But someone must do this work. Someone must stand in the dark so others can stand in the light. I volunteered for this duty. No one forced me. A knock on the door interrupted them. Dayun entered without waiting for permission. Her face was pale. Ambassador, the Galactic Council has called an emergency session. They are demanding answers. The Velkrin are threatening to withdraw from negotiations entirely. And there are rumors spreading through the station. Strange rumors. What kind of rumors? Jae-sung asked. About human bodyguards, Daeun said. About diplomats who are never truly alone. About invisible killers who can pass through walls and bypass any security. The older alien species are panicking. The Catherine Assembly has pulled all their representatives off the station. The Sindori Union is demanding proof that their delegates are safe. The secret is out, Jae-sung muttered. After all these years of keeping it quiet. Good, Taemin said. Everyone turned to look at him. The protocol works better when people know it exists. Fear is a powerful deterrent. If the galaxy understands the consequences of harming human diplomats, they will think twice before trying. This is wrong, Heejin said. She felt tears forming but refused to let them fall. This is not what humanity should be. We should be better than this. We are better, Taemin replied. That is why we send diplomats first. That is why we negotiate instead of conquering. But being better does not mean being defenseless. The galaxy is dangerous, Ambassador. You know this. You have seen the violence, the wars, the casual cruelty of species who view compassion as weakness. He took a step closer. You sit at tables with warlords and criminals. You offer compromise to those who only understand force. You risk your life every day trying to build peace. Someone must protect you while you do that sacred work. That is my purpose. My entire life has been dedicated to ensuring that people like you can do what you do safely. But Krethix does not deserve to die for one mistake, Hyojin said. Perhaps not, Taemin agreed, but he will die as an example, so that the next warlord, the next politician, the next pirate thinks twice before raising a hand against a human diplomat. His death will save lives, Ambassador. It will protect every human negotiator who comes after you. Heejin wanted to argue more, but she was tired. Her lip throbbed where Krethix had struck her. And deep down, beneath her diplomatic training and her commitment to peace, a small part of her was glad. Glad that she had protection. Glad that someone cared enough to avenge her. That realization made her feel sick. How long? She asked quietly. How long until Krethix dies? Taman glanced at a clock on the wall. Approximately 11 hours. I will wait until the station enters night cycle. Fewer witnesses. Less chance of collateral damage. Can I watch? The question surprised even Hee-jin. She did not know why she asked it. No, Taman said gently. What I do is not for observers. It is ugly work even when necessary. You should remember Krethix as the warlord you tried to make peace with, not as the target I eliminate. Jae-sung's device buzzed again. He read the message and cursed softly. The Velkrin are demanding we hand over Taman for trial. They are claiming attempted murder based on threatening behavior during the meeting. Taman smiled. It was the first time Hee-jin had ever seen him smile. It was not a pleasant expression. They can demand anything they wish, he said. In 11 hours their demands will not matter. He turned to leave. At the door he paused and looked back at Hee-jin. For what it is worth, Ambassador, I am sorry. I know this violates everything you believe in. But my oath is to protect you. Not to make you comfortable with the methods. That is the burden I carry so you do not have to. Then he was gone, disappearing into the corridor like a shadow fading at dawn. News traveled fast through Axiom Station. Within 2 hours, every delegation knew what had happened. The Velkrin claimed self-defense. The humans said nothing, which made everyone more nervous than any statement could. Commander Vesh, Chief Intelligence Officer of the Velkrin military, sat in her private quarters reviewing old files. Unlike Krethix, she was not a warrior. She was a thinker. And right now, every thought led her to the same conclusion. They were in serious trouble. Her screen displayed a classified report from the Kethran Assembly. It had cost her 3 months of favors to acquire. The title made her scales itch with discomfort. Incident Report. Death of Warlord Thexkor and associated personnel, 20 years old. Buried deep in Kethran military archives. Marked as resolved, accidental casualties. But Vesh could read between the official language. A human diplomat had died. Then 48 Kethran died within 6 hours. The official cause, system malfunctions. The unofficial truth whispered in Kethran intelligence circles. Humanity's revenge. She pulled up another file. Sindura Union records, 15 years old. A politician named Ralshek died in his sleep. Natural causes. Except Ralshek was 40 years old in perfect health and had just poisoned a human diplomat at dinner the previous evening. The Sindori medical examiner's private notes, leaked by an informant, told a different story. Ralshek's brain had simply stopped working. All at once. Every neural pathway shut down simultaneously. No poison, no weapon, no explanation. A third file. 10 years ago, a pirate vessel exploded while leaving Axiom Station. 32 dead. Investigation concluded. Faulty reactor maintenance. But the reactor had been inspected the day before and passed all safety checks. The common thread. All 3 incidents occurred within 24 hours of a human diplomat being harmed or killed. Vesh opened a new search. Ghost operators, she typed. The database returned 7 confirmed sightings over 40 years. 7 times someone had actually seen one and lived to report it. The first sighting, a security camera on a trading station caught a flicker of movement during a break-in. Enhancement showed a human figure dressed entirely in black, moving impossibly fast. The figure appeared to phase through a wall. Analysis concluded, sensor malfunction. The second sighting, a Velkrin soldier reported seeing a human crouched on top of a building during a raid on a human colony. The soldier took a shot. The figure dodged the plasma bolt before it was fired, as if predicting the soldier's intent. The soldier was later found dead, though he had been alone at the time. The 3rd through 7th sightings followed similar patterns. Impossible movements. Inexplicable deaths. Reports dismissed as hallucinations, equipment failures, or lies. But Vesh knew better. These were real. The ghost operators were real, and one of them was on this station right now, hunting Krethix. She opened a communication channel to the warlord's secure quarters. "This is Commander Vesh. I need to speak with you immediately." Krethix's face appeared on screen, his expression angry. "What is it?" "I am busy preparing my defense." "Defense?" Vesh could not keep the disbelief from her voice. "Warlord, you need to evacuate this station. Right now. I will not run from humans." "You are not running from humans," Vesh said urgently. "You are running from a ghost operator. Do you understand what that means?" I understand that humans are trying to frighten me with ghost stories. I have 50 guards, military-grade blast doors, weapons that could level a building. Whatever human assassin they send will die before getting close to me. Vesh pulled up the files on her screen and sent them to Krethix. Read these. All of them. Then tell me if you still feel safe. The warlord was silent as he reviewed the reports. Vesh watched his expression change from anger to concern to something close to fear. These are old reports, Krethix said finally. Unconfirmed incidents. Nothing proves these ghost operators actually exist. The Kethrin believe they exist, Vesh replied. The Sindori believe it. The older species who have dealt with humanity for decades all have one piece of advice for their diplomats. Never ever harm a human negotiator. Why do you think that is? Because humans are good at propaganda? Because humans are good at killing, Warlord. They just prefer not to. But when they decide violence is necessary, they are extraordinarily efficient at it. You have read our war reports. You know how they fight, how they adapt, how they win despite being physically weaker than most species. Krethix was quiet. The war with humanity had been brutal. The Velkrin had superior strength, better armor, and more ships. But humanity had tactics, creativity, and a ruthless efficiency when pushed too far. The war ended not because humanity was defeated, but because continuing it would have destroyed both civilizations. What do you suggest? Krethix asked reluctantly. Public apology, Vesh said immediately. Go before the Galactic Council. Apologize to Ambassador Hyejin. Claim cultural misunderstanding. Offer reparations. Do whatever necessary to show remorse. That would make me look weak. That would keep you alive. Vesh's voice rose sharply. Your pride is not worth starting another war. It is not worth the lives of your guards, and it is certainly not worth dying for. Krethix disconnected the communication. Vesh stared at the blank screen and felt a chill run through her. The warlord would not apologize. His pride would not allow it. Which meant Taemin, the ghost operator, would complete his mission. She pulled up schematics of the Velkrin sector. 50 guards, 10 checkpoints, sensors at every entrance, cameras covering every corridor, military-grade blast doors that required 6-digit authorization codes to open. It looked impenetrable. But so had Warlord Thexkor's fortress 20 years ago. And he had died anyway. Vesh sent a message to all Velkrin personnel. Shelter in place. Lock your doors. Do not leave quarters until morning. This is not a drill. Then she packed her personal belongings and requested a shuttle off the station. Her request was denied. The station was on lockdown. No ships could launch until the diplomatic incident was resolved. She was trapped here with everyone else. Trapped with a killer who could walk through walls and predict movements. Trapped with a human weapon that had never failed. Vesh checked her sidearm. Fully charged. She checked her door lock. Fully secure. She checked the air vents. Too small for a human to fit through, but nothing felt safe. Because according to every report she had read, ghost operators did not need doors, did not need vents. They simply appeared where they wanted to be. Elsewhere on the station, other species were having similar realizations. The Kethrin ambassador sent a coded message to her homeworld. Confirm ghost protocol is real. Recommend avoiding all human diplomat contact unless absolutely necessary. The Sindori delegation held an emergency meeting. Their security chief proposed leaving the station immediately. Protocol be damned. The younger species, the Rel, the Vaxor, the Tren, dismissed the fears as superstition. Humans were just another species. Good fighters, yes, but not supernatural. Not unstoppable. The older species knew better. They had seen human history. They had studied human warfare. They understood that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their numbers. It was their ability to compartmentalize, to be gentle and kind 99% of the time and absolutely merciless the remaining 1%. Ghost operators represented that 1%. They were what humanity became when all restraint was removed. When the gloves came off, when peace failed and violence became necessary, and one of them was active on Axiom Station right now. In her quarters, Hyejin sat alone. She had dismissed Daeun and told Jae-sung she needed time to think. Her lip had stopped bleeding but still throbbed. She touched it gently, feeling the split skin. One moment of violence, one strike from an angry warlord. And now a man would die. Part of her understood the logic. Deterrence only worked if consequences were certain and severe. If Krethix lived, other aliens might think they could get away with attacking human diplomats. But another part of her, the part that believed in peace above all else, screamed that this was wrong. That more violence never solved anything. That she should have found a way to de-escalate before blood was drawn. Her communication device buzzed. A message from Taman. 6 hours until execution. Recommend you rest, Ambassador. Tomorrow will be difficult. She did not respond. What could she say? Please do not kill for me. He had already explained that was not her choice to make. Instead, she opened her files and began preparing her statement for the Galactic Council. Whatever happened tonight, she would need to face the consequences tomorrow. She would need to explain why humanity allowed this, why they created weapons that operated beyond diplomatic control. She typed slowly, choosing each word carefully, but her mind kept returning to one question. Was this who humanity really was? Peacemakers protected by killers? Diplomats shadowed by ghosts? Or was this simply the reality of a dangerous galaxy, where ideals needed teeth to survive? She did not know the answer. But in 6 hours, Warlord Krethix would die, and humanity's secret would be revealed to the entire galaxy. The age of innocent diplomacy was over. The station entered night cycle at exactly 2200 hours. Lights dimmed throughout the corridors. Axiom Station never truly slept, but activity slowed during night cycle. Fewer people moved through hallways. Fewer eyes watching. Perfect conditions for a hunt. Krethix sat in his fortified quarters surrounded by his best warriors. 50 guards, all veterans of the war against humanity. They wore full combat armor. They carried plasma rifles. They had sealed every entrance with blast doors thick enough to stop a ship. Guard Captain Reknar checked the security feeds for the 100th time. Cameras covered every approach. Motion sensors lined every corridor. Thermal scanners monitored heat signatures. Nothing could get close without being detected. Status report, Krethix demanded. All secure, Warlord, Reknar replied. 20 guards patrol the outer perimeter. 20 more hold the inner checkpoints. 10 are positioned here in the command center with you. No movement detected anywhere near our sector. And the human? This ghost operator? Still in the human quarters. Cameras show him sitting in meditation. He has not moved in 3 hours. Krethix felt a small measure of relief. Perhaps Vesh was wrong. Perhaps the ghost protocol was just psychological warfare. Humans were clever that way. Make the enemy afraid of shadows so they defeated themselves. Double the patrols. Krethix ordered anyway. I want reports every 10 minutes. Reknar nodded and began issuing commands. The guards responded promptly, professionally. They were good soldiers, the best the Velkrin had to offer. At 22:30 hours, 2 guards on the outer perimeter stopped reporting. Reknar tried to raise them on communications. No response. Send a team to check on them, Krethix ordered. 3 guards went to investigate. They found their comrade slumped against a wall, apparently unconscious. No visible injuries. No signs of struggle. Medical scanners showed their hearts had simply stopped. Heart attacks? One of the guards said uncertainly. Both of them? At the same time? They called for medical assistance. As they waited, all 3 guards suddenly collapsed. Same symptoms. Heart stopped. No warning. No explanation. Reknar watched the security feed, his scales prickling with fear. 5 guards down. But the cameras showed nothing. No intruder, no weapon, no attack. Pull everyone back to the inner perimeter, he ordered. Now! The guards retreated, leaving the outer corridors empty. Reknar sealed the blast doors behind them. 20 guards now held the inner checkpoints. 10 more with Krethix in the command center. At 22:45 hours, a message appeared on every Velkrin communication device in the sector. Simple text. 3 words. 23 remain. Krethix stared at his screen. 23. He had started with 50 guards. 5 had died. That left 45, unless... Count our forces, he ordered. Reknar did a head count. His face went pale. 23 guards remaining, Warlord. Plus the 10 here with you. How? Krethix demanded. How did we lose so many? The cameras show nothing. I do not know, Warlord. But they are gone. The guards began looking at each other nervously. 32 of their comrades had died and no one had seen an enemy. No shots fired. No alarms triggered. Just silence and death. At 2300 hours, screams echoed through the corridors. Brief. Cut off suddenly. Reknar pulled up the camera feeds. 3 guards were down in checkpoint 7. The cameras showed them falling one after another as if struck by invisible fists. No, not invisible. Reknar enhanced the footage. There. Just for a fraction of a second. A blur of movement. Too fast for normal eyes to track. A shadow that moved like liquid darkness. He is here. Reknar whispered. The ghost. He is actually here. Another message appeared. 19 remain. The guards were panicking now. These were soldiers who had faced human armies without flinching. They had charged into plasma fire. They had fought in zero-gravity and toxic atmospheres. But this was different. This was not battle. This was being hunted by something they could not see or fight. Stand your ground, Reknar shouted. Form defensive positions. Watch each other's backs. He cannot kill us all if we stay together. The remaining guards clustered in tight groups. Back to back. Weapons raised, watching every shadow. Every flicker of movement. At 23:15 hours, the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in immediately, but the corridors were now dim and shadowy. Reknar tried to restore main power. The system did not respond. Someone had cut the power at the source. In the darkness, things began happening. A guard screamed. His companion spun around. He was gone. Simply vanished. His weapon clattered to the floor, but the guard himself had disappeared. Another guard fired his rifle at a shadow. The plasma bolt burned a hole in the wall. Nothing else. Then he too was gone, pulled into the darkness so fast his companions did not even see it happen. 12 remain. The guards abandoned their positions and ran for the command center. Better to be together with the warlord than scattered in the corridors. But only 8 made it. 4 more vanished during the short sprint. The blast door to the command center slammed shut behind them. 8 guards and Reknar, plus Krethix and his personal bodyguards. 19 total, all trapped in one room. We are safe here, Krethix said, but his voice shook. The doors are sealed. The walls are reinforced. He cannot get in. 8 remain, read the next message. Reknar stared at his screen in confusion. 8? But there were 19 of them in this room, unless he spun around. The 10 personal bodyguards who had been standing behind Krethix were gone. Not dead, not unconscious. Simply gone. In a room with sealed doors and no vents large enough for a body. Impossible. Check the perimeter. Reknar ordered the 8 remaining guards. They fanned out around the room, weapons ready. One guard approached a corner. His thermal scanner showed nothing. His motion detector was silent. He reached the corner and looked around it. A hand emerged from the shadows. Fast. Too fast to see. The guard's neck snapped with a sound like breaking wood. He fell. The other guards opened fire. Plasma bolts turned the corner into molten slag. Smoke filled the room. When it cleared, there was nothing there, no body. No evidence anyone had been there at all except the dead guard. 7 remain. At 23:30 hours, Reknar made a decision. Warlord, we need to evacuate. Take you to a shuttle. Get you off this station. You said the shuttles are locked down. Then we find another way. Staying here is death. They left the command center, running through corridors that had become a nightmare maze. 6 guards surrounded Krethix. Reknar led the way. 1 guard took rear security. They made it 3 corridors before the rear guard stopped reporting. They turned back. He was gone. His weapon lay on the floor, still warm. Do not stop, Reknar shouted. Keep moving. They ran faster, but one by one the guards disappeared, pulled into doorways, dragged around corners. Each vanishing was silent, professional, perfect. By the time the group realized someone was missing, it was too late. Finally, only Reknar and Krethix remained. They reached an emergency airlock. Not a shuttle bay, but at least a way off the station. Reknar punched in the access code with shaking hands. The airlock door opened. On the other side stood Taemin. He wore no special armor. No weapons were visible. He looked exactly like he had during the diplomatic meetings. Quiet, unassuming, forgettable. Except for his eyes. His eyes were focused and sharp and completely devoid of mercy. No, Krethix whispered. No, this is impossible. The cameras showed you in the human quarters. You never left. Correct, Taemin said calmly. I never left. I have been here the entire time. That makes no sense. It does not need to make sense, Warlord. It only needs to work. Reknar raised his weapon. Taemin moved. One moment he stood 5 meters away. The next he was behind Reknar. The guard captain fell without a sound. Krethix backed away, his massive form suddenly seeming small and vulnerable. Please, I will apologize. I will pay reparations. I will do whatever you ask. You had that chance, Taemin said. Hours ago, Commander Vesh advised you to apologize. You refused. The protocol had already been invoked, but mercy might have stayed my hand. Your pride removed that possibility. Then kill me and be done with it. Not yet, Taemin replied. First, you need to understand something. I need you to carry a message to whatever awaits beyond death. Can you do that? Krethix said nothing, his red eyes wide with terror. The message is this, Taemin continued. Humanity prefers peace. We send our diplomats first because we genuinely want to resolve conflicts through conversation. We believe in compromise, in understanding, in finding common ground. But that preference for peace is not weakness. It is a choice we make every day. And when someone mistakes our gentleness for vulnerability, when someone harms those who work for peace, we remind the galaxy that we are capable of terrible things when necessary. He took a step closer. You will be an example, Warlord. Your death will save lives. Every alien leader who hears this story will think twice before raising a hand to a human diplomat. In that way, your death serves peace. That is the only mercy I can offer you. Krethix tried to respond, but darkness claimed him before the words could form. Morning cycle began at 0600 hours. The lights came back on throughout Axiom Station. People emerged from their quarters cautiously, unsure what they would find. In the Velkrin sector, security teams discovered the bodies. 50 guards, 1 warlord, all dead. Medical scanners showed various causes. Heart failure, broken necks, neural shutdown. But no signs of struggle, no evidence of weapons. No indication how the killer had bypassed all their security. The cameras told an impossible story. Footage showed Taemin sitting in meditation in the human quarters all night. He never left. Never moved from that position. Yet somehow Krethix and all his guards had died. Station security sealed the area and began investigating. But they found nothing useful. No fingerprints. No DNA, no trace evidence. The ghost had been perfect in his work. At 800 hours, the Galactic Council called an emergency session. Every species representative was required to attend. The humans arrived promptly. Heejin walked to her seat with her head high, though the bruise on her face had darkened overnight. Taemin followed behind her, quiet as always. He looked tired, but otherwise normal. No one would suspect he had killed 51 beings just hours ago. The council chairman, an elderly Sindori named Kelvar, opened the session. We are here to address yesterday's tragic incident. Warlord Krethix of the Velkrin Dominion has died, along with his entire security detail. Ambassador Heejin, the human delegation, has been accused of murder. How do you respond? Heejin stood slowly. Every eye in the chamber watched her. She had prepared her statement carefully during the long night. Now she would deliver it. Chairman, honorable delegates, I will speak plainly. Yesterday, Warlord Krethix struck me during negotiations. He drew blood through an act of violence. This was not self-defense. It was not an accident. It was a deliberate assault on a diplomatic representative. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several delegates nodded. Others looked uncomfortable. In response to that assault, Heejin continued, a classified protocol was automatically invoked. I did not order it. I could not stop it. The Ghost Protocol exists to protect human diplomats from exactly this kind of violence. And yes, Warlord Krethix died as a result. The chamber erupted in shouting. Some aliens demanded justice. Others called for humanity to be expelled from the council. A few of the older species remained silent, their expressions grim but unsurprised. Chairman Kelvar banged his gavel. Order, we will have order. When the noise died down, he addressed Heejin again. Ambassador, you admit to assassination? I admit that my government maintains a defensive protocol, Heejin replied carefully. A protocol that ensures violence against our diplomats has consequences. We have not hidden this. We have simply not advertised it. Until now, and you see nothing wrong with this? Heejin paused. This was the moment she had struggled with all night, the moment where she had to reconcile her beliefs with her government's actions. I believe violence is wrong, Chairman. I have dedicated my life to peace, but I also believe those who work for peace deserve protection. If diplomats can be struck down without consequence, then diplomacy itself becomes impossible. Fear would replace dialogue. Force would replace negotiation. The Ghost Protocol prevents that outcome. A Velcrin delegate stood, his scales flushed with anger. "This is murder." "You cannot justify it." "Can I not?" Hyjin met his gaze steadily. "Your warlord committed assault in this very chamber, in front of witnesses, in violation of every diplomatic protocol that exists." He showed no remorse. He did not apologize. He believed his strength gave him the right to strike me. The Ghost Protocol showed him he was wrong. Another delegate from the REL consortium spoke up. "But 51 deaths? Even if Krethix deserved punishment, what about his guards? They were just following orders." Taemin spoke for the first time. His soft voice cut through the chamber like a blade. "The guards chose to protect a war criminal who had just committed assault. They chose to fight rather than surrender him for justice. Their deaths were regrettable but necessary. I gave them opportunities to stand down. They refused." "You gave them opportunities?" The REL delegate laughed bitterly. "They never even saw you." "They saw me at the end," Taemin replied. "That was sufficient." Chairman Kelvar studied the humans carefully. "What you are describing is a secret military program operating beyond council oversight. Do you understand how dangerous that appears to other species? How threatening?" "Yes," Hyjin said simply. "I understand completely, and I am here to end the secrecy. Humanity wishes to officially inform the Galactic Council of the Ghost Protocol. We will provide limited details about its function and purpose. This is not a threat. It is transparency." She pulled up a document on the central display. The Ghost Protocol has existed for 40 years. In that time, it has been invoked exactly 4 times. 4 times in 4 decades. Warlord Krethix is the 4th. This is not a tool we use casually. It is a last resort, activated only when our diplomats are physically harmed through violence. "What about accidents?" someone asked. "What if a diplomat is hurt unintentionally?" "The protocol requires intent," Hyjin explained. "An actual attack. Deliberate violence. Not an accidental bump or an unintended injury. The ghost operators are trained to assess context. They do not kill without cause." Commander Vesh, representing the Velcrin delegation in Krethix's absence, stood up. "Ambassador Hyjin, may I speak?" Hyjin nodded. "I reviewed classified files last night," Vesh said. "Old incidents involving human diplomats. I discovered the pattern, the deaths that were called accidents, the mysterious failures. I realize now that all of them were Ghost Protocol activations. Your species has been doing this for decades and we never knew." "That is correct," Hyjin confirmed. "Why reveal it now?"
Why not maintain the secrecy?
"Because secrecy no longer serves its purpose," Hyjin replied. "The protocol works through deterrence. If species know that harming human diplomats has absolute consequences, they will think twice. Secrecy made the first few incidents mysterious. But now transparency will prevent future incidents." Chairman Kelvar leaned back in his chair. "What you are proposing is essentially sanctioned assassination." "What I am proposing is protection for peacemakers," Hyjin corrected. "Every species here protects their diplomats in some way. Guards, weapons, security details. Humanity simply does it more effectively, and only when absolutely necessary." The debate continued for 3 more hours. Some delegates wanted humanity expelled from the council. Others wanted guarantees that the Ghost Protocol would be disbanded. A few quietly admitted they wished their own species had something similar. Finally, Chairman Kelvar called for a vote. "The question before us: does the Ghost Protocol violate Council laws? Should humanity be sanctioned for its use?" The vote was close. But the older species, the Kethrin, the Sindori, the Felkarans, all voted in humanity's favor. They understood the necessity. They had seen what happened when diplomats worked without protection. The Council decided the Ghost Protocol would be allowed to continue. But humanity must provide yearly reports to the Council about any activations, and human diplomats must wear a specific insignia, marking them as protected by the protocol. It was not everything the humans wanted, but it was enough. After the session ended, Hyjin returned to her quarters. She was exhausted. Her face hurt, and she felt older than her years. Taemin knocked on her door an hour later. She let him in. "Ambassador, I wanted to apologize," he said. "I know this outcome was not what you hoped for. I know you wished for peace without death." "I still wish for that," Hyjin replied. "But I understand now that peace requires strength. Not the strength to kill, but the strength to protect those who refuse to. You are angry with me, it was not a question." Hyjin considered lying, but decided on honesty. "Yes, I am angry. You killed 51 beings. I understand why. I understand the protocol, but that does not make it easy to accept. I do not expect forgiveness, Tamin said. I do not even expect understanding. I only hope you know that every life I took weighs on me, that I did not enjoy it, that I would have preferred any other outcome. Did you give Krethix a chance to surrender? Tamin was quiet for a moment. Then, yes, I gave him several opportunities. I could have killed him first, made it quick, but I wanted him to understand why he was dying. I wanted him to see that his pride had consequences. And the guards? I disabled some, knocked them unconscious, but most chose to fight. They believed they could protect Krethix. They were wrong, but I respected their loyalty. Some deaths are necessary evils, Ambassador. I try to minimize them, but I will not apologize for completing my mission. Heejin nodded slowly. The council vote went in our favor, but barely. Many species are frightened now. They see humanity differently. Good, Tamin said. They should see us clearly. We are not violent by nature, but we are capable of violence when required. That is the truth. Let them fear it. Fear will keep you safer than any speech I could give. Is that really what you believe? That fear is better than respect? I believe fear prevents the situations that require violence, Tamin replied. If Krethix had feared consequences, he would not have struck you. If other species fear the Ghost Protocol, they will not harm future diplomats. Fear saves lives, Ambassador, even if it makes us look dangerous.